I had always known I was different. Not just taller than most, though, that was obvious. Not just stronger than most, though that was also obvious. I was different in a way that people didn't even know how to describe. They called me a giant, sometimes in awe, sometimes in fear, always with a mix of something I couldn't quite name. And at 17, I had learned the hardest lesson of all. Being different made love feel impossible. Her name was Lila, and I met her the summer before my last year of high school. She had hair like autumn leaves and a laugh that could soften the hardest stone. She noticed things. The way birds paused when I walked by, the way flowers tilted toward the sunlight, just like my shadow stretched across the grass. She saw me in a way no one else ever had. For months, I tried to ignore her. No one could love someone like me, I told myself every time her gaze lingered. I wasn't built for ordinary affection. My hands were too big to hold hers without crushing her fingers, my arms too long, my heart too loud. But love, I found, is never concerned with practicality. One afternoon, I was helping my mom in the garden. She insisted that tending roses would calm my restless mind when Lila appeared. She was carrying a sketchbook, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Hi, Giant," she said, grinning. I winced at the nickname, though part of me liked it. "Hi, Lila." She crouched beside me, her fingers brushing against the roses. "These are beautiful," she said. "Do you grow them yourself?" "Yes," I said, "and sometimes I swear they talk back to me." Her laugh tinkled like wind chimes. "You talk to plants?" "I talk to everything that doesn't talk back," I admitted, smirking. That day, she stayed longer than usual. We shared stories, dreams, and awkward silences. For a moment, the world didn't see me as a giant, as a freak, as someone untouchable. She just saw me. And that, more than anything, hurt. Because the truth hit me like a hammer. No one else would. Weeks passed. We became friends in that quiet, extraordinary way that makes the rest of the world fade. I found myself noticing little things. The freckle on her left shoulder, the way her nose scrunched when she laughed, the soft hum she made when she sketched. And with every little detail, my heart grew heavier. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to reach across the table during lunch and say, "I love you," but I didn't. Every time I opened my mouth, the words froze like frost on glass. She deserved someone who fit the world, someone who could hold her without fear of breaking her. Not me. And then came the day she said it. We were walking home through the old park, the sun casting long shadows on the path. She stopped and looked at me, her expression serious. "You know," she said softly, "I don't think anyone could love a giant." The words hit me like a stone in my chest. Not a gentle nudge, but a rock thrown from the edge of the world. My instinct was to laugh, to brush it off, but the raw truth in her eyes stopped me. She didn't mean it cruelly. She meant it kindly, almost wistfully, like she was warning me before my heart shattered. I didn't answer. I just kept walking, feeling my shoulders slump under the weight of those words. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, imagining a world where I wasn't too tall, too strong, too loud, too much. And I realized something. I wasn't going to let her words define me. I would prove her wrong. The next day, I started small. I helped Mrs. Eldridge, the elderly neighbor, carry groceries up 3 flights of stairs. I lifted logs in the park after a storm so kids could play safely. I reached for high shelves in the library to rescue books for younger students. I did all these things not to show off, not to seek praise, but to remind myself that being a giant could be a gift, not a curse. And slowly I began to notice changes in her. Lila started sitting closer during lunch, leaving little sketches for me in the margins of my notebooks. She asked me questions about my life, about my family, about the dreams I'd never dared voice, and each time she did, I felt the walls around my heart crack just a little. It was during the autumn dance that everything changed. I had almost convinced myself to stay home, fearing her judgment, fearing the inevitable rejection. But my mom, wise, gentle, and endlessly stubborn, handed me my jacket and said, "Go. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Love is bigger than fear, bigger than size, bigger than anything." So I went. I found her by the punch bowl, laughing with friends. My heart pounded as I approached, my shadow stretching long across the polished gym floor. "Hey," I said, my voice rough. "Hey, Giant," she replied, smiling. My breath caught. That little nickname, once a reminder of my difference, now felt like an invitation. I held out my hand. "Dance with me?" Her eyes widened just slightly, as if she hadn't expected me to ask. Then she nodded, her hand slipping into mine, small, delicate, perfectly fragile against my own. We moved together slowly at first, awkwardly, until the music carried us. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Love wasn't about size or shape or fear. Love was about connection, about being seen and accepting being seen in return. When the song ended, she didn't pull away. Instead, she rested her head against my chest. I could feel her heartbeat, tiny but fierce. And I realized mine had been racing not from nerves, but from hope, I think, she whispered. Maybe giants can be loved, I think, I said, tilting my head down to look at her. Maybe they already are. After that night, nothing was the same. We became inseparable, partners in every sense of the word. We faced stares, whispers, and questions together, but none of it mattered. Every time someone doubted me, every time someone judged my size as a flaw, I remembered Lila's words, her touch, her laughter, and I smiled. We learned to navigate the practicalities of our unusual relationship. How to hug without crushing, how to hold hands without awkwardness, how to sit together without bending reality. And we laughed, always laughed at the absurdity of a world that thought love had limits. Years later, when I finally had the courage to speak to her about that summer afternoon in the park, she blushed and admitted she had been scared that someone like you would never be happy, scared that your heart was too big for anyone to hold. I squeezed her hand. And now? Now, she said, smiling through tears, I know a giant can love and be loved more fiercely than anyone else. And in that moment, I knew I had proven her wrong, not just for her, but for me. Because love doesn't measure height or strength or difference. Love measures courage, vulnerability, and the willingness to open your heart even when the world says you shouldn't. I had been told no one could love a giant. But standing there with Lila's hand in mine and her head against my chest, I realized the truth. No one could love like a giant. And that love, ours, was unstoppable. So yes, she said no one could love a giant. And yes, I proved her wrong.